Hey guys, welcome back to the other side of the coin. Look, massive game coming up for us up against Sevilla, however you pronounce it. I think you pronounce it as Sevilla. In the Champions League, our Champions League campaign is about to take off now. And, you know, it's coming off the back of that 3-3 draw, which honestly leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. But nonetheless, we've got to prepare for this particular match and we've got to start this particular competition with the right attitude. Last season, you know, we waited way too long to qualify for the second round. We can't let that happen. When you look at this particular group with Sevilla, and you've got Rennes, and you've got the Russian team, I think Krasnodar. Yeah, we should be trying our best to come top in this particular group. I know Sevilla is a very difficult team under Lopetegui. You know, they've just won the Europa League as well, so they're buzzing to go. They've just narrowly lost against Bayern Munich as well in the Super Cup. So they're a very strong team. So, but before we get into all of that, guys, if you're already here, take this moment to smash the like button. Subscribe if you're here for the first time, and hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. So, guys, let's get straight into this whole match preview. Now, before I get into the whole, what my lineup, expectation, and formation and whatnot, I want to talk about two particular topics before we get to that. First of all, AZPILICUETA's press conference along with Frank Lampard, but I want to focus more on AZPILICUETA, what he had to say. He was talking about how it's not acceptable, the amount of goals Chelsea's been letting in. When you look at last season, the fact is we let in 54 goals last season, and this has been the highest amount of goals conceded under Roman's era, and it's in Frank's first season as well. So, it's very, very difficult. What he goes on to say, basically, AZPILICUETA, is that it's very difficult to win anything when you keep conceding in that manner. Apparently, we're conceding under Frank Lampard, in 1 year and 8 months of his tenure, that it's been 1.5 goals per game, something like that, which is pretty crazy. When you're letting in nearly 2 goals a game, you're constantly having to rely on scoring 3 to 4 goals to win a particular match, which AZPILICUETA has said in the press conference that it's not always possible to do that. You've got to grind out, wins. You've got to be able to secure 1-0 victories, 2-0 victories. And defensively, he was saying that it really, really bothers him, and they're very upset that they're letting the front players, the forward players, down by conceding so many goals. And it's something that he's mentioned that the team has to fix, individually and collectively. So they're well aware of this situation, and AZPILICUETA has clearly said, as I've mentioned earlier, that if we don't stop conceding these, we are not going to win anything. If you're going to continuously concede in the manner that we have been so far, we're simply not going to win anything. And he goes on to talk about how, the reporters asked him about Kepa, and he goes on to say that we should be supporting Kepa. He and the entire team completely supports Kepa, and he understands the tough period that Kepa's going through, and he also understands that as a professional footballer, you've got to go through these sort of moments, and you've got to try and overcome them, and that is what shows whether you're worthy enough to be in this particular level, I suppose. So I want to now talk about this whole situation that AZPILICUETA talked about in the press conference, and related to an article that Liam Twomey, one of the Chelsea correspondents, wrote for The Athletic, where he really points out the second half situation against Southampton, where Southampton scored 2 goals in early parts of the second half. They equalised to make it 2-2, and then they equalised later on to make it 3-3. So he talks about in this article that these goals didn't just appear all of a sudden. That whole second half, Southampton was relentless. They were putting pressure on Chelsea time after time after time. And without a shadow of a doubt, these goals were basically the outcome of that particular pressure. So it didn't just happen of a one-off situation. And what he goes on to talk about is different situations in the match. He laid on at least 4 to 5 examples as to when the issues were sort of occurring. At least 5 or 6, actually, more than 4. And he was going through each of them and detailing it out. And one of the key issues he was talking about is, which I've mentioned in my previous videos many times in regards to our defensive flaws, is the gap between the defense and the midfield, and pretty much that midfield becoming non-existent, where the opposition completely takes control of it without any challenge from us at all. And basically what those images were showing most of the times were two factors. One, when we were with the ball, basically Southampton didn't press us all the way. When the centre-backs had the ball, they laid off and they cut off the passing lanes between Jorginho and Kante, basically forcing us to go wide. And as soon as we went wide, either to Chilwell or AZPILICUETA, that's when Southampton pressed really hard as a whole team. They didn't just press with two people, they pressed as a whole team and basically forced the error from Chelsea to lose the ball. And the other part was when Chelsea was pressing, he was pointing out the press wasn't strong enough. When Southampton had the ball, whether it be the goalkeeper or the centre-backs, you know, the Chelsea midfielders and the forwards would basically push up, and at the same time the defenders wouldn't push up. So the defenders stayed low, midfielders pushed up along with the forwards, leaving a huge gap in the middle where all the Southampton midfielders were basically camping out. And the crazy part is the press wasn't strong enough either. The press was very lazy. It was a press, they were moving up, but it was lazy like none other. And basically what it did was it allowed the Southampton centre-backs all the time to go long up over the press and into our final third, where our defenders would win the first ball. But when they would win the first ball and header it down, it was all the Southampton players in midfield for the second ball ready to go. So, and this was happening over and over again, both those scenarios. The first one where I said our build-up, and the second one where our press. And this, I feel like, is related to what AZPILICUETA was talking about in the press conference, in the sense that we shouldn't be just looking at the goals that we're conceding as a one-off situation or an individual mistake. I think we need to start looking at it as a systematic defensive issue that we are having over and over again. And Frank, since the time he's taken over, about close to 1.8 years ago, nearly 2 years now, is that he needs to somehow, you know, try and eradicate this. He hasn't been able to eradicate this at all. And with all this time that he's spent with the team, it's a bit concerning, and I hope that he gets it right, because we've got some big games coming up this season, and this Champions League is a huge factor where we need to start working as a group. Now, I want to talk about the team, because I think some of these issues can be fixed with, you know, Thiago Silva hopefully being back, and Mendy obviously hopefully being back. So now let's talk about the whole Champions League match that we've got coming up. Guys, Sevilla is going to be a very difficult task for us, I feel, because they're a very well-drilled team under Lopetegui. And as I said, they've won the Europa Cup, so they're buzzing, and they've got some really quality players, you know. They shouldn't be taken lightly at all. Their defenders, their midfielders, their forwards, they all work. And in the La Liga at the moment, it's only early days. They played 4 matches, I think 2 wins and a draw and a loss. They've just come from a particular loss, which is off the back of, I think one of their players got red carded at 45th minute, and they ended up losing the match 1-0. We had a draw as well. So this particular match is going to be quite interesting, because both the teams are going to look to basically get the win and get the table in the Champions League table, Group E, I believe, you know, get going. And this is the big match in this particular group, I feel. And whoever gets the hold of this will obviously, I feel, will end up being top of the particular table. And it's very important for us to be top, because we don't want to go to the next stage and face, you know, once again, a Bayern Munich or PSG or whoever else, someone very difficult. We need to play well now and win these type of matches and ensure that we come first in this particular group. Now, the way I would set up my lineup, or the formation that I would go with, basically, and I want to keep it as realistic as possible. My formation honestly would be 4-3-3, but I know that's probably not going to happen at the moment, because we simply don't play with the attacking eights and we don't have a lone DM. So I'm going to go with, you know, the traditional, what Frank has been going with so far, which is the 4-2-3-1, and my 4 at the back, hoping. There's been words that Mendy has been seen to be training yesterday, so he hopefully is fit enough. Even if it's 80% fitness, I would like him to start, because even though I don't want to blame completely Kepa for what has happened in Southampton, there were a few situations that he could have done better with the goals that we conceded. So hoping that Mendy comes in because he could 100% give us that, better sort of keeping abilities. So hoping Mendy starts off the back of the report saying that, he's been seen to be training. So he'd be in the goals for me. In the right side, I'd go with AZPILICUETA because I'm hoping we're going to have, Ziyech to start in that case. I want AZPILICUETA for a bit more defensive reassurance as opposed to Reece James, who's more dynamic going forward. And AZPILICUETA, he's been doing all right in terms of overlapping. It's just his final delivery in the final third. It's got to get better. In the middle, I need to have Thiago Silva starting because some of these issues that I've already mentioned in terms of how we've conceded and our gap between the midfield and defense, this is something is because we don't have a leader in the centre back position. We don't have leaders. We don't have the defenders that communicate properly. So Thiago Silva, we've already seen against Palace the kind of assurance he provides at the back. He has the ability to play a high line and he has the ability to communicate and ensure the gap is smaller between defense and midfield, which hopefully will suffocate the team. And even if they go long, we should be able to clear those balls out. In the left, so Thiago Silva and Zuma, for me, that two combination, we gotta let them keep gelling. In the left side, it's got to be Chilwell. This is the first important game in the Champions League. We've got to start with Chilwell, and hopefully he has a full big game as opposed to against Southampton, where I think second half sort of faded away. In the middle, I would have Kante and Kovacic. Kovacic simply because the ability to play from the back. He's defensively a little bit better as well from Jorginho, from Jorginho. And Kante, with all the engine that he has, I need him to stay there. But I need these two to be very, very conscious and aware as to what's going on in the match in regards to, when they're pressing. They need to communicate as well with the defenders that they're about to press. So, let the defenders come up and they need to be dropping back very quickly as well in the counter. I feel like these two will probably have, better ability to do this. I'm hoping that Kovacic, he didn't play the last game. Apparently he's had a baby that's been born, so hoping that he'll be ready for this particular match. Up front, I would have Kai Havertz in the number 10 position. I wouldn't change that. And Timo Werner up front. Need this combination to continue on. This is our strongest combination, and this is a big match in the Champions League. So we'll need that to go on, and I would like Ziyech to start. He's already had 30 minutes for Morocco. He had about 30 minutes for us against Southampton. He looked quite sharp. I want him to start. I know there's some words that he's probably not ready, but I would love him to start. And on the left side, I want Pulisic. I don't want any of these Mason Mount and Pulisic on the right. Let's not tinker with it anymore. Let's play players in the right position, and let's get this victory, guys. It's going to be a tough game, as I said, but we need to get a win here. I think a draw at home against Sevilla will put us in the back foot when we go away against them. So, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. As I said, I'm hoping for a draw. I don't know what my prediction is with a particular score. I'm just hoping for a draw. I'm hoping we can somehow keep a clean sheet and manage to win this. So, guys, let me know what your thoughts are about this whole particular match. Do you feel confident? What would your lineup be? What would your predicted score be? Let me know everything in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts about the AZPILICUETA stuff and also Liam Twomey's article. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe and hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Until next time, see ya.